Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, we moved over here to the Arundel Center up here on the second floor of 2660. We wanted to sit down with the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation, and we are talking with Amy Gowan, who is the CEO and president of the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation, which I'm going to abbreviate as AAEDC from here on because that's a big, long name.
Please do.
But thank you very much for inviting me up, and thanks for taking the time to talk with us a little bit about what Anne Arundel Economic Development does. And for all the businesses that are listening to this, if you don't know about AAEDC.org, shame on you. And after you're done listening, go check it out. That's the advice that I've got to give to every business there. But
I'll add to that. Oftentimes when people find out about us, they say we're the best kept secret.
It shouldn't be a secret. That's the whole thing. And I've talked to a number of different businesses that when they do find out about you, they go, well, where were you when I started?
And that is common in the economic development sphere. No matter what jurisdiction EDOs are operating in, it's always one of the biggest priorities to educate the business community about all of the resources that we provide. Right?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with when somebody is starting a business, and that's primarily your main focus is businesses starting up, and you've got expansion and incoming. But when people are starting a business, I mean, they're all in, they've got the ego going, the whole 9 yards, and I don't need any help for anything, which couldn't be further from the truth. That's where you guys come in. But let's talk about what is the Economic Development Corporation here in Anne Arundel County. I mean, you are not government.
Correct.
But you're government adjacent.
Correct. So we're a quasi-governmental agency. So I like to say we're a privatized function of county government. So economic development organizations exist throughout the state of Maryland and throughout the United States. And there are different models. Some economic development programming is part of a city or county, some type of municipality. And it's actually embedded into the municipality's government. So it's an agency. In other models like ours, we are spun off as a 501c3. We are largely connected to the county in that we receive the majority of funding from our county. A good portion of our board of directors is appointed by the county. And so I'm appointed, the present CEO is appointed by the county. So there's a great deal of connectivity, and we really exist to support the business community. And so we're providing a function of government, but we're doing it as a privatized agency, which allows us to be more efficient, more nimble, which is what is needed when you're interfacing with businesses, right? They need you to be expedient.
That's exactly the nimble. You said nimble, and that was the word that was on the tip of my tongue, sitting there saying, wow, this is great. You can get rid of all the government bureaucracy. And when a decision needs to be made and to move on, you can act on it if it's in the best interest of, obviously, you guys, the county, the business, and everything else.
And especially when you're dealing with financial resources. So we are a commercial lender, and we lend to small women, minority-owned businesses that are starting up, that are scaling up. But we need to be able to, like I said, to be able to administer those funds quickly and efficiently. We've done some disaster recovery. I think a lot of businesses know us from the COVID period when we were lending, millions of dollars in COVID money. But with the flood in Annapolis, we stepped in and did some disaster relief there.
I think the tornado you did as well.
And the tornado, exactly. And so being able to stand up a program in the matter of 24 to 48 hours and then get that funding out immediately to those businesses is essential. So having a privatized agency is so important, and when you're working with the business community.
Well, I do remember when COVID was around and County Executive Pittman had some money and I mean, basically filtered it over to you and said, hey, I'm not able to get this money out in any reasonable amount of time. Let's give it to Amy and the Economic Development Corp and they can get it out. And you guys did.
There was and full disclosure, I was not in my current role during COVID. But there was economic development was a difficult place to be during COVID, as many others, obviously. But there was the PPE money, so there was all the federal relief money that was directly flowing to businesses. But there was also just the ARPA money that governments, across the United States were receiving, and that was where we were able to be a little more creative in our programming. That's where the Inclusive Venture Program, the IVP program, came out of. Was that ARPA opportunity?
Well, I'd like to talk about that. That's definitely on my list here, but. And we want to get into a little bit more of what the Economic Development Corporation does, but the IVP program, for those that are unaware, that's the Inclusive Ventures program, and that was born out of COVID to keep businesses alive and growing and new businesses coming in. No, it wasn't new businesses; it was existing businesses.
Correct.
But it had to be with a minority of sorts. So it could be woman, it could be African American, it could be Hispanic, Eskimo, Aleutian Islander.
Small women, minority, veteran owned.
Right. Businesses to come in. And this was just a true godsend I'm going to say absolutely. And we've talked to probably 10 or 15 businesses that have gone through the program that have said that was a total godsend to them because you come through and you do the 6-week boot camp. 8-week boot camp? Okay.
8 weeks.
You correct me when my facts get wrong, okay? But 8-week boot camp. And you relearn your business from top to bottom, from personnel, from accounting, from, modeling, from growing, from, marketing and the whole 9 yards by experts. At the end of the day, you get a $5,000 stipend, grant, whatever you want to call it, to grow your business. And it's pretty much unrestricted. I mean, it's not I need a vacation in Tahiti, but it's
seed money. It's just a check and it is to go towards a business expenses, but there aren't restrictions or anything on that funding.
But I mean, now you've grown that. I mean, that was initially let's see how this works during COVID, and it took off. I remember the first couple ones, it was like, oh, there's one. Oh, there's another one. And now it's like, okay, how many have you done now?
So we started out doing 5 a year, and that was 2021.
Right.
So we were aggressive the first couple years out of the gate. I think we did 5 and then 4. Now we're at a steady three cohort per year pace. And some of that is just tied to funding that's beginning to dwindle, right? So we're operating off of a federal earmark, and we have about enough funding to get us to 2027. And then we're going to need to identify new resources for this program to continue it. Yeah.
Well, I certainly hope those resources are found just because it is a lifesaver. It is, to any number of businesses. And, I mean, you would know the statistics better than I, but I mean, what do they say? That businesses, like 80% of them fail within the first 5 years or something?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a huge number. And to be able to get this leg up is gigantic because, again, the egos come in. Hey, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a painting company and I know how to paint. I'm the best damn painter in Anne Arundel County, but I have no idea how to balance my books or how to market my business.
Yeah. And I think, so first of all, I just want to say I'm so impressed with your knowledge of the program. You sounds like you've been following it for a while, and it is just a wildly successful program. We just graduated our 15th cohort.
Wow.
So that's 172 businesses that have gone through the program. The main focus is finding the business in the right stage where they're just about ready to scale up. So typically that looks like a business that has been a couple years operating. They're hitting that inflection point where they're ready to scale to the next level. They need support on things just like you said, with accounting, with human resources, with taxes. And so they get specific mentors in each of those areas. Plus, they go through the general curriculum, which is that 8-week curriculum. It's all virtual. And probably the biggest thing that I hear from the graduates that they take away from the experience is the cash flow analysis. They come out knowing their numbers. And that is across the board, I think, one of the biggest benefits of the program. They know what monthly projections they need to hit. They know what their targets are. They know how their cash flows. And they are set up for success afterwards. And then they get the $5,000 seed grant.
Well, sure. I mean, now they know when that red light goes off that, okay, we need to adjust.
Right.
Or we're, that curve is now going down. The other thing I will say with the ones that I've spoken with have said that they get out of it, and it's totally nothing that you provide, but it's the camaraderie of the existing cohort. And they said that, okay, Mary may be really jazzed about the accounting and but I was more on the marketing side. So they lean on each other beyond the IVP program and the graduation. And which, again, I mean, you've got networking things all over the place, which personally I hate. When I went through Leadership Anne Arundel, it's a different thing. You can contact those people. You can contact them any class. You can say, hey, I saw that you went through the IVP program and you're doing a hair salon.
Yep.
I'm in the same boat here. Can we talk? And they will. And
I love that you mentioned that, because that's the other, I think, enormous advantage of this program is the fellowship that is created, the business to business connections that are created. We've really tried to lean into that and to continue to forge those relationships after the graduates exit the program. So we host social events where we invite just the graduates of the program to come, and then we can help network them within, with one another, and they can become each other's best resource. And like you said, the businesses span such diverse industries that not only can similar businesses connect to discuss shared struggles and strategies, but there are also resources. Well, I need some help with an accountant. Well, I have an accountant that just graduated, or we have quite a few marketing firms. So we're definitely seeing some of our businesses use studio space with some of our graduates.
Sure.
So yeah, and it's a really great program. And you mentioned the leadership model, and what we are trying to do is use that as a model for keeping that connectivity, keeping that network active and alive on an ongoing basis.
Sure. Nothing better than knowing a guy. Hey, I know a guy.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you. We'll figure it out. Well, you talked about the different segments. Do you have any idea of how many businesses there are in Anne Arundel County?
61,000.
Wow. Okay. And that's from the solopreneurs up to Fort Meade. Maybe not Fort Meade.
Of those, about 75% of them are sole proprietors or don't have employees. So only about a quarter of them are employers. Many of them, most of them, about 96% of them are small businesses under 20 employees, which gets to why we do focus so heavily on that small business sector, right? Because it is such a foundational. I mean, they're foundational to our local economy.
Well, it's so, I mean, that's the whole focus of the local business series, which is what this is part of. And I mean, I believe that any community, and whether that's Anne Arundel County, Annapolis, Dalesville, wherever you go, begins on a main street. Okay. It is the small businesses. It is I joke and say, man, I realize it's great that we've got, JCPenney's leaving, but we'll say Macy's, I think, is the only big store over at the mall that's here and does employ local people and everything else. But however, all the money does go up to New York. In the end, when we support our local small businesses and, our solopreneurs and stuff like that, they're taking the dollars that they're making in profit, and everybody doesn't need to make a profit, and they're spending it to support your kid's little league team or to buy the slice of pizza from from Timber Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really makes a community, and it makes the community grow, is when we do support the local businesses. I mean, I love that American Express jumps in every November with the shop, Small Business Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is sort of weird. You got like one of the most giant financial companies in the world telling you to shop with the little itty-spittiest ones. But I
think you bring up a point that I don't know is widely recognized. And I hear this. So we do Business Appreciation Week in October. It's like the third week in October every year, where we take the county executive and we take county officials, so agency heads across Anne Arundel County, and we go out to about 70 or so businesses during the course of a week. And it's really just to say thank you, to appreciate them, but also to hear about their story and their struggles. It's a phenomenal event, and we've been doing it the last few years. But to your point, what we find and what we hear is how much they're doing for their local community, providing space for local social groups to meet, giving back to the schools in some way, shape, or form. And so they're pillars in the community, and some of that altruism often does go unnoticed.
Well, most of the small businesses that I know too also aren't doing it for the recognition.
No, exactly.
They sit there and said,
Exactly,
this is the right thing to support this nonprofit.
Right.
And as best I possibly can, okay? I may be able to do it at a $50 level. Somebody else may be able to do it at a $100,000 level, and that's fine, but we're both all supporting it. Again, that brings into the community. But then that number of 61,000 businesses is crazy. And I mean, I know we've got such a diverse county. And again, I'm a grad of leadership Anne Arundel, and I mean, so we know, from North County to, West County is very sort of industrial and whatnot, except for that stupid little farm on the backside of BWI, which I still don't quite understand. But that's, come on, from airport, horse. Go figure. But down into South County and how rural and how agriculture it is, we've got the maritime industry. I mean, so I'm just looking at different industries that are represented here. I mean, you got agriculture, tech, hospitality, which is huge, maritime. And I guess the other one would sort of lump it all in as like service industries. So I mean, it's accountants and lawyers and
professionals,
barbers and,
right,
things like that. And is that pretty much the segments that you're?
Yeah. So actually, we just completed our first strategic plan for the organization. And I think all those industries that you hit on are critical industries to our economy. And I'll start out by saying we have a very diverse economy. So we're not overly reliant on any single sector, which means which also then leads to a resilient economy, as we're seeing right now with some of the federal reductions and layoffs, is that, we aren't overly reliant on the feds. And so we are faring well considering some of the reductions we're seeing. But anyway, so we're getting ready to launch our strategic plan. And so we did a quantitative analysis looking at what are our key industry sectors that we want to focus on and target over the next 3 to 5 years. And so those are what we're calling core growth opportunities based on our competitive advantage in the region, local, national trends. And so those 5 industries that we've identified are aerospace, cyber security, technology, life sciences, and logistics. So that's where we as an organization are really going to focus much of our attraction efforts on, and also expansion efforts. Now, in terms of our long-standing, what we're calling our critical sectors, right, our foundational sectors of our economy, that's where you see healthcare, that retail, accommodation, hospitality industry, agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and then that professional, scientific, and technical category.
We are so diverse. I mean, I know that, Kristen over at Visit Annapolis in Anne Arundel County, I mean, she is
amazing.
Number one.
She's
but,
amazing.
Slightly more difficult to get for a podcast than you are, but that's okay. We're working on her. But I mean, she is working to attract people to come into Anne Arundel County. Okay. And you look at county executive pivot, the best place for all. Okay. So we, shortened up Steve's shoes thing and, let's change it on up. But I mean, we are really a wonderful place to live, work, play, and for everybody. Okay, we can argue everybody has their own little, oh gosh, I hate this type of a thing. But I mean, we've got the Bay, we've got agriculture, we've got, cities, we've got a robust arts scene. I mean, your neighbor I think they're in the other building, but the Arts Council is just so robust here in Anne Arundel County, and it is a very attractive place to live and to do business, and to expand businesses. I mean, you sit there and you do see, I think it gets you every month. I mean, if you're not on the list for AAEDC.org to get it out, they send out a monthly list of all businesses that are new and expanding.
Yep.
And I will put an asterisk on that. It's because it's not all businesses, because you don't necessarily know about the businesses
Exactly.
that started unless
Exactly.
somebody says, "Hey, Amy, we're here." They don't know about you. And again, that's sort of a downfall. It'd be nice to see how many businesses, and I've said this with the city of Annapolis a couple of times. It'd be nice to see. It's great that we've got this many new ones coming in, but how many ones left, and for what reason? Was this like just I've been doing this for 100 years and I'm just myself and there's no kids and it was time, or was there an issue
Right.
to be able to address? But
for the larger ones that leave, we do get what's called a warn
Right.
notice, and so those we can track and we can find out was there a reason?
What's the limit on that? Is that like 30 employees or something? I think
I'm not sure.
it's something. I mean, I know that when Penny's went in and went out again.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to file the warn notice with the state, but
Right.
again, it's, if you are a business here, let them know that you exist. I mean, it's just like,
And more so that the new and expanding list is probably our most popular, most subscribed to, clicked on publication that we put out. It does really well. So it's somewhat of a free promotional opportunity for businesses because
Sure.
people are looking at it. People are interested. They want to see what new businesses are popping up in their communities and their neighborhoods.
sure, absolutely. You see that sign go up in the window. It's like, wonder what's going in there. And
Exactly.
it's like,
Yeah.
we'll sign up for that. But you guys are just more, okay, I mean, you've got a lot of data that you can offer to people. Okay, you mentioned that you are not a full service, but you're a commercial lender.
Yes.
Lender?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you are the bank of AAEDC, so to speak. Data research. We mentioned the IVP program, which is just, if you are, a minority, look into this.
Mhm.
This is, something, and it is an application thing, the IVP program. I mean,
It is, yeah.
you're limited to the number of people that you take, and
Yeah, we try to limit it to somewhere like 10 to 12 businesses per cohort.
right. But you've got Volt funds. I know a couple companies that have, have received funding
Mhm.
from the economic development. As a matter of fact, I talked to a guy named, I don't know whether you know him, Astrajan Shukurov.
Yeah.
Who's
Is it?
he's got a cleaning service.
Okay.
But he also wrote a book called The Immigrant's Companion.
Interworld cleaning?
What's that?
Is it Interworld cleaning?
Yes, interval cleaning. Good. I was drawing a blank on it, but
There you know the name. I knew the business name.
there you go. We'll partner up and figure out.
Business.
But I mean, here's okay. Just for those, go back and listen to that podcast for those who are listening. But just the Cliff Note version of that is, this guy came to America from Uzbekistan with $200 in his pocket, was jobbed out to a hotel or a resort in Colorado, essentially was slave labor for a while, said this is enough, came here because he had some distant relative in Baltimore, started cleaning offices, and he has grown that into a residential commercial cleaning service. He's advancing it into an app to sort of like an Uber for housekeepers. Through I believe it was a Volt fund that he got through Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation. He was talking about, your team here that really assisted them. He purchased a building at that time, it was sort of a kind of an area of Glen Burnie. He said there was hypodermic needles in the parking lot and everything else. The area has cleaned up because businesses have come in. He's able to keep his headquarters there on the bottom floor. He's able to rent out the rest of it, which pays the mortgage, which your loan helped him get.
Mm-hmm.
And he has written a book called The Immigrant's Companion, which basically says, hey, if you're coming here from somewhere and you don't know what to do, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, here's my notes, which is brilliant. And, there's another guy in Annapolis that does it similar for the military. He says, when you get out of the military, they're like, okay, well, thank you for your service. Go forth and do what?
Right.
It's
right.
he was telling me, John was telling me a story about how, he said, okay, so we're going to meet at 6. And it's like, well, I was here at 600 and nobody was here. Oh, we meant like at 6 at night. Oh, you mean 1800? It's just, it's just the military mindset, which they don't do. And he's written a book on how to adjust from military life into civilian life, which is, certainly huge in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the type of stuff that you guys do every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you find these businesses, you listen to a business pitch, you sit there and say, hey, we can help. We can't help. I'm sure you probably turn down people as well.
Because we have programs and resources for the entire life cycle of a business. Typically, it is this might not be the right program for you right now, but we can help you or assist you with a different program or a connection. So that's another big piece of what we do, is that we have so many partners in the ecosystem. If they're providing the service and they're the expert on that service, for instance, we partner with the SBDC through the University of Maryland, and they're phenomenal business counselors for businesses that are starting out, that are writing business plans. So we have a partnership with them. We contract with them. They work out of our office, and we will connect a business to them if they're at that early stage. We have our accelerator program, the IVP program, for kind of that middle stage. We work a lot with partners like workforce development. If there's workforce needs, we work with the community college. TEDCO, which has other financing. So beyond just the full suite of services that we provide, we have all these partnerships, and we're always going to do a soft handoff, right? It's always a business to business or business to personal connection handoff to make sure that they're getting what they're getting their needs served.
And it makes sense to be able to tap into your network. I mean, I was talking with Matt Mullen with Arundel Federal Savings Bank, and he was saying that they're a local community bank that does things within house. I mean, it's they've got a committee of people that sit there and meet, as opposed to an algorithm wondering to check off to see whether this makes sense, whether it be for business or a mortgage or something like that. It's invaluable to be able to do that. And as you mentioned that, I mean, you look at your tentacles, they're kind of everywhere. I mean, we mentioned, Visit Annapolis, and you said the community college and the businesses that are coming in. Marijuana is legal in Maryland now, and there's all sorts of different industries that are popping up in association with that. I mean, I know somebody, I think they're in Anne Arundel County, but they're just packaging. They're not selling marijuana, but it's the packaging that marijuana is
the
put,
processing. Yeah.
No, but it's just like the plastic bags that this stuff is put in, that they make to send to these people that put the marijuana in. It's kind of crazy. But I mean, you mentioned Anne Arundel Community College. I know Shad Ewald is developing the whole marijuana curriculum because, we do need to have, they like to call them bud tenders, in the thing. That's my thing with the marijuana thing, is they like to use the vernacular, which I used when I was, growing up and smoking it. It's like, the bongs and the joints and stuff. I said, we got to, it sounds a little illicit, still sounds a little bit illicit in my mind. So,
well, many of the dispensaries look like a spa when you walk in.
Oh, they're unbelievable. Okay, totally off topic. You may know the answer to this. Gold Leaf, the big gold one on West Street, just in Anne Arundel County. They just bought the Truist, I think it was Truist, or maybe it was BB&T Bank on the corner, and they've converted, they painted it black, and now it says Gold Leaf Headquarters. Do you know what that is? That just like where they...
I
don't know. Yeah. My thought was that as a bank, it probably has a vault. They do a lot of cash business. It probably makes sense to...
that is not the first example I've heard of a bank site converting into a dispensary.
Yeah, well, I know Manna over in Edgewater did as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen that before.
Which makes sense.
It does make sense.
Until they figure out what to do with the Schedule I drugs in D.C. Right. But what other services do you have? Okay, we've got data, we've got the IVP, we've got different funding sources, we've got relationships, we've got connections.
And I think you talked a little bit when you were talking about the example of the story of the cleaner, is that site selection service. If someone is looking for a site, we can help find commercial property for them. We have one of my COO, Wes McQuillam, has a commercial broker's license, so he can help with that. And then
do you guys make commission off of that?
No, we don't. No. We're and then permitting. And so trying to help businesses, especially the small ones that can't afford a land use attorney or a consultant, helping them to navigate the permitting processes. Ideally, the earlier they talk to us, the better, because oftentimes they find out things at the end that cost money, and it's hard to help at the end of the road. So having those conversations with us early, just, hey, what do I need to know? This is what I'm thinking about doing. This is where I'm thinking about locating. We can help with all of that. So that's, I think, an invaluable service we provide. The other thing I wanted to mention, and you may or may not know, is we're doing a lot more these days in revitalization. I don't know if you saw, but most recently we managed a redevelopment project for the county over in Glen Burnie. So we basically manage the entire disposition process to convert a county-owned property that had been used as like industrial site for
Right.
years and has quite a bit of environmental contamination. And so that site is going to be fully cleaned up, remediated, and it's going to be converted into transit-oriented residential development, mostly home ownership, that is targeted to serve the community at large in the Glen Burnie area.
That's awesome.
So that was our first redevelopment project we've done as an agency. So we're pretty excited about that. And then in addition, we've been implementing the Glen Burnie revitalization plan. So doing a lot of placemaking work.
And that was all that Allison Pickard had introduced.
Councilwoman Pickard was very involved, not only in the formation of that plan, but she has just been a tremendous partner to us in all the work that we've been doing in Glen Burnie. We've received quite a bit of DHCD, so Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development funding. We're in the process right now. We're having a mural painted on the Rotary Park. We just did a very large activation of the Glen Burnie Town Center. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yep.
Very colorful activation. So we're doing farmers markets there on Thursdays. There's the summer concerts there on Fridays, and so we're trying to activate that space more and more. The real impetus for that too is that the Resiliency Authority of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County has a grant, or has funding at least, to do a permanent revitalization of that space. So permanent beautification, greening of that space to make it more resilient and more environmentally friendly. And so this temporary activation that we're doing was to help the community start to envision the potential of that space. What can it be used for? How is the community going to use it eventually? And then really to inform that process and the design of the future space. And we're learning some lessons from the farmers markets about, little things like loading and placement of vendors and the angle of the sun and, just all sorts of great little takeaways from this temporary activation. So there's, 20 to 30, street poles that we've done banners, and we came up with a brand for the Glen Burnie Town Center area. So there's a lot of signage that we're doing. Again, public art is big. And then most recently, we just found out this week that we were awarded not a Main Street designation, but basically we applied to be a connected community within that Main Street program for the state. So it's the first step in becoming an actual Main Street. So if successful and if everything proceeds, then that would be the second one for the county. So obviously Annapolis is the first Main.
That's fantastic. I mean, Councilwoman Pickard is probably the best nudge Glen Burnie's had in a long time, and that's she's just been a real champion and a real force up there.
She really has. And she's been a great partner to us. She has been helping every step of the way with all the different projects, with, being able to secure the funding. She's just been a real champion and a huge supporter of us. So we appreciate her.
I guess as we start to wrap it up here, I listened to your Pittman and Friends podcast. And for those that didn't, shame on you again. But you came here in sort of a circuitous way, didn't you?
My whole career has been a little circuitous. Yes.
How did we get up here to the second floor at the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corp?
Yeah. So I think I talked a little bit about my career trajectory, which much of my early career was in San Diego, in the city.
Did you know David Jarrell when you were there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we worked for the city at the same time. I forget exactly what position I had, but I believe he was like head of public works.
That sounds about right.
Real estate. I'll go right one of those. So that was funny because then I saw that he was, when I saw his announcement that he was leaving Annapolis, it was shortly after I think I joined.
So we got like ships that are passing.
And I did reach out to him. I said, hey, I didn't know you were here. So I would say that the time I had in San Diego, I worked for the Housing Authority of San Diego. I worked for the city of San Diego, and I had a number of different jobs, all kind of within the land use realm, right? So I did housing, affordable housing. land use. I was a land use advisor for a council member. I worked on various policy initiatives and legislative services for the mayor for a while, and I also worked in economic development for the city. So I felt like that really gave me a holistic understanding of economic development, because yes, traditionally and at its core, it is about attracting, retaining, and helping businesses to grow, right? And strengthening the economic base of a city or a county. But there are all of these other components like transportation and housing that tie into it. And so
I was going to say that each component of your career to date has added into that.
Exactly. I think it all kind of fed in. And then when I moved to Maryland, that's when I started working for Howard County Planning and Zoning. I was the deputy for about half of the time. I was there 8 years. So I was deputy director for half, and then I was the director of the department for half. And that really helped to understand the regulatory side of development and growth and long-term planning for, we were looking at jobs and how much housing do we need to support the job base in the county, and where are we going to put all of those houses. And so I had worked my last big project before I left was their comprehensive general development plan, with a strong emphasis on jobs and housing.
Yeah, housing is a thorn in everybody's side. I mean, I know Annapolis has it. I know, County Executive Pittman said, we thought this whole Riva Road corridor was going to be affordable housing, and we've just redefined affordable, with some of the apartments when you're looking at, efficiencies or studios going for, $2,600 a month on a rent. I mean, what drew you to Maryland from sunny San Diego?
Well, twofold. I grew up outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs in Delaware County.
Where?
Broomall.
Okay.
It's a tiny.
Fine. I know Broomall. I know Broomall.
Okay. So I grew up there, born and raised there. My family all still resides in the Montgomery County, Westchester, that whole area outside of Philadelphia. When my husband and I had our first child, we really just wanted to be closer to my family, and his company was based in Baltimore, and they offered to relocate us to Maryland for an opportunity for him. And so that for us was a ticket back to the East Coast and to be closer to the family. And so we jumped on that opportunity, and then we landed in Baltimore County first, and then now we're in Howard County.
Boom. Well, what would be the most surprising about Anne Arundel Economic Development Corp that most people wouldn't know?
I think most people don't recognize the breadth of assistance we offer. Like you mentioned, that we're a lender, and we talked a little bit about, we didn't go into detail about the loan programs we have, but if someone interfaces with us as a lender, they tend to just think of us as a lender. They have no idea that we're out doing grassroots revitalization in Odenton and Glen Burnie and Brooklyn Park. Is where we're looking to focus next. Or if someone uses us for a site selection and that's it, and then they don't realize all the other data and the publications, the economic indicators that we put out. I mean, it's just there are so many different services that we provide. And that's where I think we become the best kept secret, is that, I didn't realize economic development could do that for me as well.
So if you think of the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corp as an onion, and you peel off your layer, don't just leave. Peel off that next layer.
Exactly.
And see what's under there.
Exactly.
I mean, I look here, we've got 3 or 4 doors that I can see right here. Go through those doors and find out what they can offer you, because as the small business today, you may be needing a larger property tomorrow. Maybe it's time to buy a property as opposed to renting a property.
Well, or businesses might not need something today, but knowing who we are and the variety of services that we can provide just makes a business more informed, so that when they actually hit a barrier, they know who to call. Right. So these are long-term relationships we have with businesses. When we sit down and we do a consultation and we try to understand the business and their needs. So that's the beginning of a long-term relationship. And it goes both ways. If we hear about things that we know some of our businesses need, we're going to shoot those resources over to them as they come across our plates because, we are so connected. We're seeing those resources. We're hearing about them. So we proactively send them out to businesses that we know that specifically need them. Or it could just be that a business knows us. They know about us. They become part of our ecosystem, and then they know who to call and connect with when they need something in the future.
Right. And it should go without saying, but it doesn't cost anything to come in here and talk about it.
Nope. Yep.
And get the advice that you need. Some of your success stories. I mean, I know a couple. I mean, do you have a success story that's come through here? I mean, you talked about the ongoing relationships and whatnot. I mean, do you have a success story that comes to your mind that says, we did that?
I think that's tough because there are so many, and I always feel like telling the success story of someone else, I can't do it justice.
Sure.
But we just have so many businesses that we work with so closely because we've helped them along the way, and they've just become partners of ours.
Well, it's almost like family, I think, to a degree.
Yes, many of them are. When I sit through our graduations for IVP, I will say there are not a lot of dry eyes in the room because the owners are there. And these are the people that put their blood, sweat, and tears in following their passion. And they all have a story. They all have a story to tell. And only they can really tell it in a way that...
True. Well, I will say that one of the ones that does come to mind for me anyhow is, and you guys were here at the very beginning for them. And I know that they've come back to the table a couple different times, but one of my favorite Mexican Latin places down in South County, Jessie J's.
And Jaylene, yeah. I was actually thinking about her.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you guys have
Jessie J's is phenomenal, and they've utilized a number of our programs.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, again, a great partner. Back to what I was saying is, when we need catering for events, she always steps up. Jaylene always steps up. And they've been a tremendous success. And we love seeing that.
And you got to love their food. So if you ever get down South County
so
way,
good.
Jessie J's Latin Kitchen, I think is the full formal name of that, is a wonderful place down there.
Yeah, they have a really interesting story too.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
they got started and whatnot. So,
well, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Is there anything else that we need to know as we wrap this up that you can think of?
No, I would say, for your listeners, if they don't follow us on social media, please do. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, AAEDC.org. You can find us. And really, that's the best way to access resources that we know about, hear about, and we also promote businesses on our website too. So
you're always out in the community. I always see really Steve always out there running around. Oh, and one last thing we want to talk about, and it's going to be in the past by the time we talk about it, but you've got an event coming up on the agriculture called Taste of Anne Arundel.
Yeah.
And that is already happened by the time this airs out, but that's an annual type of a thing. Are there other annual events? And that's usually at the end of July, beginning of August?
Exactly. Yeah. Typically end of July. This year, we're doing it early August. That's probably our signature event where we highlight our local producers and growers and brewers. And so we had our wineries and our breweries, and they provide the wine and the beer, and then all of the ingredients from the menu that is developed is all locally grown and produced. And then typically we've had Bread and Butter Kitchen this year, and then last year that has done the curating of the menu and has done all the preparing of the food. And there's music and entertainment, and it's just a really wonderful event. And we do contribute some of the proceeds typically to like future farmers. We did the food bank one year. And so we try to give back some of the proceeds of that.
Spread the love.
Yes, exactly. And you're supporting local. So that's the big takeaway from it. In terms of other annual events, I mentioned the Business Appreciation Week. That's typically the third week in October. And we are this year in January, we're going to be doing a first time, but we're hoping it's going to be an annual event, large expo. And so to be the entire program and curriculum is still under development, but this is meant to be a large networking opportunity and information resource sharing opportunity for businesses in the county. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned for that. We're looking forward to that, and we're going to hope to replicate that every year.
When you talk about the Business Appreciation Week, and again, it's just got to be huge. It's very easy to sit there and say that Stuart sits in that fancy office on the 4th floor, looking out across the, at the Michael Bush stage at the, in the Calvert Park. But when the county executive and when the leaders of the county, the elected leaders, the people that work for us ultimately, come out and see your business, listen to your thing, that's huge. It really is. And I will say that the County Executive Pittman has been one of the ones that's been most approachable, most accessible. He's pretty much one to tell you that I can't do it, or I can do it, or we'll see if we can do it. You typically know where you stand with him. And
absolutely.
Something I appreciate.
And I know he really enjoys the event. We brought that back for the first time since, I think, 2018. We brought it back when I started 2 years ago. And I think he's been thrilled that we've been continuing to do that every year. He gets out there, he goes on visits with me. And then the other thing is we have the agency heads that are out there. And so they love it too, because they're getting to be in a different atmosphere, a different element. They're hearing the stories of the businesses. It's forming connections.
Well, they're also figuring out how their particular world intersects with
can support the businesses.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think across the board, we get such positive feedback, and everyone is just, it's a really great week.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up. I don't want to take any more of your time, but I want to thank you so much for your time. And, congratulations on all of the stuff you and your team is doing. Because, you do have a really great team of people out there with a bunch of great experts that offering great advice, bar none, because I've heard it from so many businesses that have worked through you.
I am extremely blessed to have the team here. This is one of the highest performing economic development teams that I've ever seen. It's just the whole group are commensurate professionals. They are just really not only talented and skilled in what they do, but they're passionate about what they do. They love what they do. And, what more can you ask for as a leader?
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.